yakọ ene hyeden ke madomafo mu nyina mo yakọ ene hyeden fi say am imagine who say from Sunday going how mu be see man media na so ayehye no isuma mo Maybe Asante my mon come ho na ye madomafo nyina yakọ ene hyeden ke madomafo mu nyina mo yakọ ene hyeden fi say am imagine who say from Sunday going how mu be see man media na so ayehye no isuma mo
be on time we're gonna have Asantehene people who can make you. People who can make you and not make you. You want to have the time to say and wala why being cash review. First no me now na me so because on pass Asantehene asema be wona ha me we wona me say ampo Asantehene on pa masema na ha me say na say afa no mati ase because Asantehene omonye because consider we mkokodi o ma shada we plant no omonye omo peto mungodi consider we o ma ba be tena o ma my pressure na Asantehene my juice omo de be my yi nti Asantehene wa me no ya adwe wo mpa masema mati ase na we ya umpa masemi omo I say envo mu o mese kumu ni pressure me do ala wo de anti pa masem preko pa ma sankrofo no we hey misraw hey Wompa masema amuchese amude envo mu wo pa masemo ase usu na mi yo usu za munjum no wo de uni Asantehene njum wo usu na mi yo usu na mi ya wo na sanjum na ya Asantehene njum me first na mati me pacho umfa ma umpa masema mu de hamo wo ma we yi na o pressure ni omu kwakwe mama shada me ni Asantehene Akwasi day last year no my planning no USD my last year my planning sana what now my son the way am go ye there me do ala Sunday no dey better hard because omunyi no obi a be shekente obi a wa shekente anje indi me de hello Inti wo mu de wampo wo tam kwaba na mani je ho Asantehene wo tam no ya be jojo watenti wakasa mesra menya ho ntai omo wai menya ho me be tufu me du ana me tufu hello we ba me tufu ho de mo de tam so wo nya ho we omo be jojo Asantehene you better make you useless. You better nyawanyo be on time we're gonna have Asantehene people who can make you. People who can make you.
Asantehene piao. Hey, machigu ho. Sekutu sebam kokwesi mediso na namu adama. Mo ready sekutu sebam. Enti na meze mo ready Yewura. Osibreketa woku manhene. Etwadwira. Osaya ni esrono ohene o ma Asante ye daya krabehwe dodo Asante bo hurekente e na etwaguo no wo hwe Asante bo hurekente e na etwa ne hu sekire hinke anokwa ye na nanom jaye japade da yeso ye to aso mu yie e de ama nchiri ma wa renefe
You see the man out there, that's my kin. Me hene no ono na ekono. That is my king right there, and that is king of Ghana. That is the king of Ashanti Empire. That is the kings of king. Just brofono ma intima ma kambesa me kafone but ma minkatwi. Chamai. Efrisi wo me efiti 1660 ebepem 2026. Memfa meni se hunu bibi say that. Masa otumfo ena obroni ede wow edi nanim na okoya kweside wa America no chese woye that is king of Ghana right there. That is king of Ghana. That is king of Ashanti Empire. Ohini kese no woni papa na akwaba no obu ni mu president ba obebu ni mu why Donald Trump crowd mu ade kra no oduro na so ochia na wo so ye yamamre no obebu ni mu Donald Trump ama no wow edinanim masa ne ekoso no hunu ye wo hu de ekoso no hunu ye wo de otena me hunu so bia ya boske bi na ma ken so obaba be tere se ono ne wo hene no be hwe no kotawa akopa bi atena nana na eko no nana ne ye chia no nana na etutu tatai no nana na eko no nana ne ye chia no nana na etutu tatai no nana na eko no nana ne ye chia no nana na etutu tatai no yisi
ya wonye hi sasa nkrofo ye titi moto isui wo hwe wo mo nsa ho pa otu so mo ya abrofo misheze da zoomi na me ka sa Ghana police and I resi yan resources edi o mo di otumfo achi kwa abroche so mo nkodi nachi afa me fe mani hwe eyi ba konsa ho tete ho me fe mani hwe ya se broni fita na hwe sa America for police abrofo sum otumfo abrofo ena esum no na mose mo nkasa de musi ye no ejere mo boa mo munim me sese mo ameka me medi mo achi abewia obia wonye hi sasa nkrofo ye titi moto isui wo hwe wo mo nsa ho pa otu so mo ya abrofo misheze da zoomi na me ka sa Ghana police and I resi yan resources edi o mo di otumfo achi kwa abroche so mo nkodi nachi afa me fe mani hwe eyi ba konsa ho tete ho me fe mani hwe ya se broni fita na hwe sa America
nana eva wo fo nana boni ayaka kasa wo boa esanru so wo borada ayana na se tidwe yesa wo kwa was to obey a board that was in the Chieftaincy by I know that's why we go. What's in the Chieftaincy by I know that's why we go. I do mean you know. Yes, I will cry. Yeah, was to obey a board that was in the Chieftaincy by my protein. I yes, I will go for Nana. Bonnie, I kind of you. Ashanti yeah, guide up in me, Bonnie. Nana, yan you are and not missing. There be a back I would. Guide up your Ashanti guide up in me, Bonnie. Nana, we have a pan one way. There be a back I would. That's our boy.
What film? It's a private, right? Oh, okay.
This is private.
What the media is here?
No, they're with.
Are you camera?
This is the fact of it. So they're with the camera. They're with the camera. That's what they're at.
No, I'm part of it.
Let us pray. Totrobon sunyankopon wa obosro eniasase tonsio boiria. We come before you this day with grateful hearts as we gather here in Washington, D.C. under the distinguished patronage of His Majesty Otumfuo Osei-Tutu II, your son and your servant, our fearless King, to open this maiden Africa Business Investment Summit. Lord, we thank you for the vision that has brought together government, diplomatic and corporate leaders, investors and innovators, united in purpose beneath the theme, Unlocking Africa's Century, a Diaspora Mandate. We ask for your wisdom to guide every conversation held here, that they may yield not just words, but action, not just intentions, but investment, not just ideas, but a renaissance for our continent. Bless the deliberations of this summit. Bless the hands that will build bridges between the diaspora and our homeland. Bless our royal patron and every voice who will speak truth and vision into this room. Finally, O Lord, grant us unity of purpose, clarity of mind, and boldness of spirit, that what begins today may echo through generations as the moment Africa's century truly began to unfold. We thank you and we bless your name. In thanksgiving and in faith have we prayed. Amen. Please be seated. Majesty, Your Royal Highnesses, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome in video to the Africa Business Investment Summit. Future. Joining us here at the MGM National Harbor in Washington, D.C., and around the world on radio, on television, and online. We say a very good morning and welcome to the Africa Business Investment Summit, which will provide opportunities to examine specific investment opportunities, engage directly with decision makers, and develop relationships that can lead to effective partnerships and transactions, thereby unlocking capital, steering investment, and shaping Africa's future. To you all, we say, welcome, bienvenue, mahaban, karibu. We say ekabo, but most importantly, we give to you that which is reserved at the center of the earth in Ghana, the pride of Asante. We say akwaba, to which you all say ya, akwaba. And just like that, you are all sons and daughters of our King. Please put your hands together for yourselves. We acknowledge that there are decades when nothing happens, and there are weeks where decades happen. This week has been one such. Right here in Washington, this week has carried the burden of history. A golf tournament that turned fairways into handshakes. A lecture at the Howard University that reminded a new generation the importance of African unity, the preservation of cultural heritage, and the enduring ties between Africa and the global Africa diaspora. And this coming Saturday, be the good Lord willing, an award ceremony that has become one of Africa's most coveted and recognized celebrations, honoring the people transforming the continent with excellence, will take place. But today, in the spirit of excellence, we continue with the Business and Investment Summit and the promise of unlocking over $500 million of capital to flow into the continent. I thought we had friends. And so it's a humble prayer that today will count not just as a gathering of minds, but as a meeting point of two important landmarks in history: a 600-year-old crown and kingdom, and the largest capital market story yet to be told. It is where African business and African investment collide. You are where you are exactly needed to be. Welcome to the Africa Business Investment Summit. Your Majesty, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we begin with a formal word of welcome from Ghana's ambassador, to the United States, having been Ghana's High Commissioner to the United Kingdom. He comes to us with an understanding of how we can unlock the full potential of the diaspora. Would you please make welcome His Excellency Victor Smith.
Okay. Distinguished guests, captains of industry, investors, members of the diplomatic community, friends of Africa, ladies and gentlemen. It is a distinct honor and privilege to join you at the African Business Investment Summit, and particularly to have the honor of introducing one of Africa's most respected traditional leaders and statesmen, His Majesty Otumfuo Osei Tutu II, the Asantehene. This summit comes at an important moment for Africa. For far too long, the story of our continent has been told mainly through the language of challenges. But those of us who know Africa understand that ours is equally a story of opportunity, resilience, innovation, and enormous untapped potential. Africa does not lack ambition. Africa does not lack enterprise. And certainly, Africa does not lack resources. What we require is the capital, the expertise, technology, strategic partnerships necessary to transform those resources into sustainable prosperity for our people. That is why the theme of unlocking capital, steering investment, and shaping Africa's future resonates so strongly with my own vision and mission as Ghana's ambassador to the United States. Since assuming office, I have consistently carried one message across the United States: Ghana is open for business. But attracting investment must be about more than the movement of capital. It must be about building mutually beneficial partnerships and create industries. expand our productive capacity, transfer knowledge and technology, and most importantly, create meaningful and sustainable jobs for our young people. I firmly believe that the future lies in stronger collaboration between governments, the private sector, investors, and the African diaspora. Our diaspora possesses extraordinary expertise, networks, capital, and knowledge of both worlds. We must therefore position them not simply as remitters to Africa, but as strategic partners in Africa's economic transformation. This is particularly important for Ghana. Under the leadership of His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama, Ghana is pursuing an economic reset aimed at restoring confidence, accelerating growth, creating jobs, and building a more productive and competitive economy. We want investment that helps us move beyond the export of raw materials. Whether it is our gold and critical minerals, cocoa and agricultural produce, energy resources, or the talents of our young people, Africa must capture a greater share of the value generated from what Africa produces. We must manufacture more. We must process more. We must innovate more. And we must trade more among ourselves and with the world. And with Ghana hosting the Secretariat of the African Continental Free Trade Area, we offer investors not only access to Ghana, but a strategic gateway to the enormous opportunities of the wider African market. Ladies and gentlemen, this is why gatherings such as the African Business Investment Summit matters. They bring together the people who possess capital with those who understand opportunity. They connect ideas with expertise and hopefully transform conversations into bankable projects, businesses, jobs, and lasting partnerships. It is particularly fitting that we have with us today a leader who has consistently championed education, development, enterprise, cultural identity, and the economic empowerment of his people. His Majesty Otumfuo Osei Tutu II occupies one of the most revered traditional institutions on the African continent. But his influence extends well beyond tradition. Throughout his reign, His Majesty has demonstrated that our traditional institutions can be powerful partners in modern development, mobilizing communities, promoting education, supporting peace and stability, encouraging investment, and preserving the values that bind society together. Through his leadership and numerous development initiatives, His Majesty has touched countless lives and has become a respected voice not only in Ghana, but across Africa and internationally. Indeed, His Majesty represents something very important about Africa we seek to build. An Africa that draws strength from its heritage while confidently embracing its future. Our traditions and our pursuit of modern economic development are not opposing forces. Properly harnessed, our heritage, institutions, and cultural identity can provide stability, trust, and social cohesion, the very foundations upon which sustainable investment and prosperity can flourish. As we seek to unlock capital and steer investment towards Africa, therefore, we must never lose sight of the ultimate purpose. Investment must improve lives. It must create jobs. It must provide opportunities for our young people. It must strengthen communities. And it must help build an Africa in which our young men and women can fulfill their ambitions at home rather than feeling compelled to leave our shores in search of opportunity elsewhere. That is the Africa we must build together. Ladies and gentlemen, I therefore consider it a very special privilege to welcome and introduce the son of Ghana, a custodian of one of Africa's greatest cultural heritages, and a passionate advocate for education and development, and a respected voice for peace, progress, and African advancement. Your Majesty, we are deeply honored by your presence. Thank you, and may God bless Ghana, the United States of America, and the great continent of Africa. Thank you.
One more time, His Excellency Victor Smith, Ghana's ambassador to the United States. Thank you for that warm note of welcome, articulating so well the purpose of our gathering and for officially acknowledging to us all the weight of our King, the gift of the occasion. One more time, please. Your Majesty, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we proceed in the program with remarks from two most consequential voices in Black American civic and business life. The first to speak to us is the President and CEO of the NAACP. Make welcome Mr. Derrick Johnson.
Good morning, Your Majesty, the organizers of this conference. I want to thank you for this opportunity and for your vision. For the NAACP, the nation's oldest and largest civil rights social justice organization, with over 117 years of service, we deeply appreciate the relationship with the African diaspora. We recognize in this moment, more than any other time, it is important for people of African descent to stand united and strong together. As African people, we define culture globally. As African people, we recognize the power of unity. But as African people, we also must understand the power of our collective economics. As an African American born in Detroit, Michigan, I have always been on a journey to understand my identity. As I ran across many individuals in college and in law school from the diaspora, I appreciated the cultural connection. In 2018, when the NAACP convened a group of African ambassadors during the UN, it was at that point where the Secretary of Tourism of Ghana asked us to join them in the year of the return. We graciously decided to do so, as we were also pursuing to establish Image Awards Africa. And as a result of that conversation, we have been going to Ghana almost every year. That first trip had an impression on me personally. Close to 300 individuals joined us on that journey as we went from Accra to Cape Coast to Kumasi. And I recognized at that moment that the connection between the diaspora is much stronger than the stories that I've heard. Because as we drove through the coastside and I recognized people move around, I seen rural Alabama. As I began to interact with individuals, I seen the faces of my family member. As I began to talk about how people would trade, I seen the Delta of Mississippi. This is an important moment for us all. It's an opportunity to leverage our collective consciousness like never before. our tools, our treasures, our talents, and our intellect is now needed more than ever. We are in a global economy, and in this economy, we must stand as one African nation. The diaspora has riches untold, and if we connect all of our riches, we are the most powerful collective nation on the globe. Your Majesty, your vision is strong. I want to thank you for gathering us. We should leave here. We should leave here after this conference more focused, more determined to work together, to grow strong together, to prosper for our children together. Peace and power.
Warm and very constructive thoughts. The President and CEO of the NAACP, Mr. Derek Johnson. Thank you ever so much. We now proceed to hear from the President and CEO of the U.S. Black Chambers Incorporated. Make welcome Mr. Ron Busby.
This is a beautiful occasion. Good morning, Your Majesty, distinguished guests, business leaders, entrepreneurs, and friends. It is an honor to be here and to participate in what I believe can be a transformative economic relationship between Ghana and Black America. For those of you that may not be familiar with us, my name is Ron Busby. I'm the President and CEO of the U.S. Black Chambers, Inc., also known as the USBC. Also, our tagline is the national voice for Black business. We are working diligently to become the global voice of Black business. We represent a national network of 178 local and state Black chambers across the country and 385,000 Black-owned businesses across the United States. Our network reaches businesses across virtually every sector of American economy, from construction, infrastructure, engineering, energy and manufacturing, to technology, financial services, healthcare, agriculture, logistics, real estate, hospitality, and professional services. On Tuesday evening, I was honored to join you at Howard University, and Your Majesty reminded us that Ghana is known throughout the world as the pillar of peace. That immediately resonated with me because the U.S. Black Chamber was founded on what we call our 6 key pillars. Our pillars include advocacy for strong Black-owned businesses, access to capital and investments, contracts, as we understand that Black America's businesses' future, 95% of that will come outside of the boundaries of the United States borders. It's about contracting opportunities, entrepreneurial training. As I visited Ghana, it was ironic to me that when I left, your businesses were online following our training exercises here in the United States. Our 6th one is around chamber development, and lastly, it's media information to make sure that not only African Americans understand what's going on globally, but global Black Americans understand. So the message is simple. I heard you say that Ghana had and was coming here to look for a $500 million opportunity. Ghana brings to the world the pillar of peace. U.S. Black Chamber bring our 6 pillars of economic empowerment. The question before us is, what can we build together when we merge those pillars? The answer can be a new and powerful economic relationship between Ghana and Black America. Because when we talk about Black America as an economic partner, we're not talking about abstract ideas. We are talking about an existing network of 178 chambers, 385,000 businesses, with headquartered here in Washington, D.C. on the 7.8 acres, which is formerly the BET campus. And together we bring and are supported by generations of Black businesses, the experience, the training, and expertise. U.S. Black businesses have expertise, we have experience, we have capacity, and then His Majesty, the headlines in the United States right now brings that Ghana is bringing $500 million to the United States to invest. When I read that, I thought, now that's the ingredients for something very significant. Ghana has the opportunities. Ghana has capital. To grow. And once again, Black America has experience, expertise, and the execution capability. So our message to Ghana is very simple. Invest with us. Let's combine Ghana's capital and opportunity with Black America's expertise. Let's build together. Let's develop infrastructure together. Let's create industries together. Let's use that capital to attract even more capital. And let's create a relationship that produces growth, development, jobs, ownership, and wealth on both sides of the Atlantic. I want to be very clear, Your Majesty, about the scale of our ambition. Black American business owners want to be Ghana's #1 trading and business partner. Ghana has economic relationships with China, Europe, Russia, and the broader United States, and nations and regions throughout the world. Those countries have brought expertise to the table. And let me also be clear, Black American business owners intend to compete and win those opportunities as well. If China can build infrastructure in Ghana, Black American companies are more than capable to build infrastructure in Ghana. If European countries can provide financial and professional services, Black American firms are ready, willing, and able to handle that business as well. If international trading companies see opportunities in Ghana, our technology companies should see it as well. If global investors are positioning themselves for Africa growth, Black Americans should not be watching from the sidelines. We should be your partners as well. U.S. Black businesses also bring something distinct in this moment. We bring technical and professional expertise developed in the world's largest economy. And we bring something that China, Russia, and Europe and other international companies cannot replicate. We bring a shared history and a connection to Ghana that goes far beyond the transaction. But let me say this, our history alone is not enough. Our shared history should become the foundation for a shared economic future. We don't want Black Americans simply visiting Ghana. We don't want Black Americans to simply sit and watch the economic growth of Ghana. We want our businesses helping to create and to benefit from that growth. We don't simply want Ghana to ask Black Americans to invest here. We want Ghana to invest with us. Bring us those opportunities, bring us those projects, bring us that capital, bring us the Ghana companies that are looking for expertise and partners, and through the U.S. Black Chamber, led by businesses, entrepreneurs, professionals, technology and expertise necessary to help execute on those opportunities. The $500 million that the Majesty has at his disposal can be the beginning and not the end point. Let's ask where we can combine that capital with Black American expertise and leverage it to generate billions of dollars of additional investment and economic opportunity. Let's put our pillars together. Let's compete. Let's invest. Let's build. And let's make Black America Ghana's #1 trading and business partner. Invest with us. May God bless Ghana and the United States. Thank you so much.
What does openness mean to you?
Collaboration, Black experience, and expertise as economic power. All these, however, will function in a vacuum without political will. And so we want to explore how heads of state, ministers, and senior officials set out intergovernmental backing behind ambitions such as this. Here to walk us through a very short fireside conversation will be a counsel lawyer for Hush Blackwell and formerly president of the Export-Import Bank of the United States. And to moderate this conversation will be the Vice President of the U.S. Africa Business Center. Would you please make welcome our moderator, Dr. Yao, and our resource persons, Rita Jo Lewis.
First of all, thank you so much, Dr. Gao, for moderating, I think, this discussion. And Your Majesty, I just want you to know this is the second time that I have been in your presence. I was there in Barbados last year at that summit when you basically spoke to the Caribbean nations and a whole host of Americans and others about the same type of subject. To be able to be here because we have people like Sarah Adjanu, who said you have got to come and talk strictly from a transactional perspective. So that's the basis of why I am here. And it is a wonderful sight, as Derek and Ron said, to be able to look out in a room of people who are prepared and who have already been involved in investment opportunities in Africa, specifically also in Ghana and throughout the continent. And so, you know, as I was listening to the ambassador speak, and he was talking about the areas and the power that investors and like yourselves have in a room like this, I was really reminded first to say, let's just talk about Ex-Im Bank. Ex-Im Bank is America's official export credit agency. I was very fortunate, Your Majesty, to be able to be the president, chair, and the CEO of a $135 billion authorized agency in the United States government, which is still moving aggressively along today. During the time, I traveled extensively, not just because I had been at Ex-Im Bank. I have been involved with the continent for years. But during that time, had a chance to travel to 8 countries over 6 times. And I will tell you, as America's export credit agency, which its mission primarily is to work with businesses in the United States, along with foreign investors, to help them grow and succeed by using the financing tools of export credit, insurance, working capital support, you name it. But more importantly, to make sure that everyone understands it was the bank for everybody. Not the bank for a few, not the bank for just parts of the world, but for everyone. And that's why with a laser focus, we were able to take the financing for the 3 years that I led the agency from $109 million to over $3.6 billion and counting. Now, when you start talking about, like, what's the political will, you know, you have to kind of think about an agency that is almost over 90 plus years old. But it had a mandate, just like these other agencies, not just in the United States, but mandates from their other countries to do business around the world. And Africa was one of the mandates. So with that mandate, we were able to try to meet that, I always call it meet the moment or meet the mission. And so on the political will side, I would tell you, to me it was about how we translate these announcements, how do we translate all these concepts and conversations into some transaction readiness. And so part of that is what I used to talk about all the time, that mentioning to all of you. It's about identifying from the country, the leadership, what is the identified priorities. You know, people would come all the time and I always say they want to have a nice conversation. I used to tell them that that's nice, but I need a transaction. What are you trying to do? Where do you have the data and the material that you have so eloquently spoke about that you want to do? Do you have the work that can back up what you are proposing, because there are a lot of needs out there, and in those needs, identifying the priorities. I also wanted to know, where are the decision makers? Who are the people that's coming to participate and really be the ones who can actually also execute? Because within individual governments, all the ministries have to be aligned with the president or prime minister and the leadership's will that they want to get a financing done. And so one of the things that I often saw that would kind of stall some of these efforts was that some of the execution framework was always missing. And so I will tell you that when you are working with agencies and working with those who you want to get the financing from, they're looking for that certainty, coordination, and they're also looking to see who they can hold accountable in terms of looking at major projects.
Thank you very much. I think I had a lot of questions to ask, but I can clearly see that you have answered almost all these questions. What does it really take for capital to move, into Africa, and what should government do in making sure that this money is available?
You know, the table is already set. You're setting that table every time leadership comes to America or to a potential investor, and when you set that table, they're looking at you for that confidence that they got to have in you to be able to want to partner and become one of your investors on a particular project. And so, you know, one of the things I'm sure you all have always heard, you know, you go to these investors and, you know, go to these banks, and the first, whether it's government, they say, well, do you have a bankable project?
Yes.
Well, the minute somebody tells me that, I already know they're about to tell me they're not going to do my deal. So don't despair, because I say, make sure when you come, you have the bankable project. And having that bankable project goes back to what we were saying. Where's the capable sponsor? Who's really running point on this deal? Because we know government now is, and it doesn't matter which government, is trying to get out of the running of these particular big old projects.
So, Rita, I want to ask you maybe the last question for you. What will it take for these 500 mandates to happen? As we leave this room today, what do we need to do to make this mandate happen?
What is important in a room like this is to ensure that when you're sitting in front of, it doesn't matter whether it's government or the private sector, that you know more about your project than they do. Because they know about your project before you walk in the door. They know if you're ready. They know if you're not ready. They know if you fired somebody already, you hired somebody else. They
$1 million immigrants call Maryland home, and nearly 20% were born in Africa. We are also home to more than 150,000 Black-owned businesses. These connections to Africa run deep across our communities, our businesses, our universities, and our institutions. This morning's theme, the political will behind the deal, is important because political will opens the door. But our responsibility in government is to make sure businesses and investors can walk through it. That means creating the relationships, infrastructure, resources, and market connections that allow capital and commerce to move in both directions. The strength of the economic relationship we are building between Maryland and Africa is measured by two-way trade, two-way investment, shared innovation, and shared prosperity. That is Maryland's approach to intentional economic development. The African diaspora is one of Maryland's greatest assets in deepening our economic relationships with Africa, and is central to our vision for two-way trade and investment.
We want Maryland companies doing business across African markets and African companies to see Maryland as a gateway to opportunity in the United States. In 2025 alone, two-way trade between Maryland and Africa was valued at more than $2.5 billion. And since 23, 85 foreign companies have invested in soft landings in the U.S. through Maryland's Global Gateway program, including sub-Saharan African firms across Ghana, Nigeria, Ethiopia, and South Africa. We like to think of Maryland as a perfect gateway for an international company to land, connect, and scale in the U.S. Maryland's location offers access to decision makers, world-class research institutions, major federal and military installations, and one of the largest diplomatic communities in the world. Maryland has a competitive edge across many leading industry sectors that highlight our innovation ecosystem. I'd like to touch on strategic lighthouse industry sectors that are guiding Maryland toward a new era of economic growth, including life sciences, aerospace and defense, information technology, cybersecurity, quantum, and artificial intelligence. And I'll highlight key sectors aligned with the theme of today's summit. Maryland is the leading U.S. hub for life sciences, anchored by Johns Hopkins University and the National Institutes of Health. We offer capabilities across pharmaceuticals, medical devices, diagnostics, and cancer research. Our ecosystem supports research, development, and commercialization, making it easier to scale solutions. Maryland partners, therefore, can help expand access to high-quality healthcare solutions for Africa's growing population. Maryland's information technology industry. It thrives on a concentrated and collaborative environment, spurring innovative communities in cybersecurity, IT, interactive technologies, and communications. Maryland offers an ideal platform for collaboration as we have more than 13,000 IT businesses with capabilities to support the growing demand to expand digital infrastructure. As the capital of quantum, Maryland also boasts a strong network of quantum research centers and institutes, including University of Maryland College Park, which is a global leader in the quantum excellence. 15 of the world's top 20 aerospace and defense companies have a presence right here in Maryland, with defense systems already in use globally, including Lockheed Martin, headquartered in Maryland. Maryland has strong capabilities in renewable energies.
Help me say thank you to Madame Jerry Bird, Principal Deputy Secretary for Enterprise Integration, Maryland Department of Commerce. And now we move to the beautiful state of Lagos, the city of excellence in that beautiful state.
Prevent him from joining us in person. He has, however, asked me to convey a profound message. Ghana believes in Africa's moment and is ready to build it with partners who share our confidence in Africa's future. On behalf of President John Dramani Mahama, I wish to express Ghana's deep appreciation to His Royal Majesty Otumfuo Osei II, King of the Ashanti Kingdom and the life patron of the Millennium Excellence Foundation, and to the Millennium Excellence Foundation for convening this important gathering. This is not merely another conference on Africa. It has been deliberately designed as humility and a clear sense of purpose. For decades, we have been a gateway to Africa, a stable democracy, and a center of commerce and enterprise, and a nation committed to rule of law. Under President John Dramani Mahama, we are now resetting our investment landscape to make that gateway more competitive, productive, and purposeful. The year 2025 marked a turning point in Ghana's economic reset. Following a significant macroeconomic adjustment, we made deliberate progress in restoring stability and rebuilding investor confidence. Inflation declined from 23.8% in December 2024 to 5.4% by December 2025. And as of July 2026, inflation was recorded at 4.6%. The exchange rate has been stabilized and growth is rebounding. Real GDP grew by 6% in 2025, the fastest pace of economic expansion since 2019, while non-oil GDP grew by 7.6% in 2025, the highest rate in 14 years. The economy continued to outperform expectations. Overall real GDP growth was 6.4% in the first quarter of 2026, well ahead of the 4.8% full-year target. Gross international reserve rose to approximately $13.8 billion, equivalent to about 5.7 months of import cover for 2025, upon from 4.0 months in 2024. Government is targeting an ambitious increase in reverse to the equivalent of 15 months of import cover by the end 2028. FDI inflows in 2025 reached $2.62 billion, and more importantly, 95.4% of headline FDI inflows came from reinvested earnings, a strong signal that investors are not only entering Ghana, but staying, expanding, and deepening their presence. Looking ahead, we project FDI to reach $2.8 billion in 2026 and $3.1 billion in 2027. This is more than a forecast. It is a vote of confidence in Ghana's future. Your Royal Majesty, ladies and gentlemen, Ghana is not content with just recovery. Our ambition is transformation. We want an economy that moves beyond exporting raw materials to manufacturing finished products, creating value, jobs, and shared prosperity. We want capital that drives productivity, entrepreneurship, and innovation. This is the philosophy behind the 24-hour economy program, which is a commitment stimulating round-the-clock production, improving productivity, and developing a competitive and export-oriented economy. And it is also the philosophy behind our investment opportunities mapping projects, which is identifying and packaging bankable opportunities across Ghana's regions so that investment is better distributed, more inclusive, and more impactful. Your Royal Majesty, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, investment cannot thrive on ambition alone. Investors need reliable infrastructure, energy, logistics, digital connectivity, industrial parks, and predictable rules. Above all, they need a government that sees the private sector as a partner in development. That is why Ghana is advancing the Big Push infrastructure program to accelerate priority roads, connectivity, and economic corridors, thus reducing the cost of doing business, moving goods faster, and connecting Ghanaian enterprise to African markets. The government of Ghana knows that infrastructure is only the frame. The real story is what we are choosing to put inside that frame. And it maps almost perfectly into the 7 tracks this summit has organized itself around. In energy and power, we are closing Ghana's generation gap and expanding transmission because factories run unreliable power, and we intend to give investors exactly that. In technology, our national AI strategy and investment in coding and digital entrepreneurship are helping make Accra one of Africa's fastest growing tech ecosystems, from fintech and agri-tech to health tech. Young Ghanaians are building innovative solutions and need capital partners to scale up. In agriculture, our Feed Ghana program is designed to make agriculture a driver of economic transformation by producing more food, reducing import, creating jobs, supplying industry with reliable raw materials, and expanding Ghana's agriculture export from cocoa to vegetable grains, poultry, vegetable oils, and tubers. Ghana's value chains offer investors opportunity to turn agriculture strength into industrial growth. In mining and natural resources, Ghana is moving beyond extraction to processing, local participation, and shared value, creating opportunities for investors ready to build long-term value with us. In tourism and the creative economy, Ghana's heritage, music, film, fashion, and culture offer strong opportunities for investment and global connection. Our textiles and garment manufacturing policy is creating a certainty to build competitive, export-ready value chains. Ghana is proud to produce what it wears and ready to scale this ambition with investors. In maritime development, our ports, coastline, and position in West Africa's major trading routes make Ghana a natural platform for shipping, logistics, port services, and the blue economy. Infrastructure and real estate, our growing cities and economy are creating strong demand for roads, rail, logistics, housing, water, sanitation, and smart urban development, offering investors opportunity with both commercial and social returns. And in manufacturing and industrialization, Ghana recorded about $368.7 million in FDI across new manufacturing projects in 2025. We are building on this momentum through industrial parks and special economic zones, including the Greater Kumasi Industrial City and Special Economic Zone, Dawa Industrial Zone, Tema Integrated Industrial Park, Secondary Export Processing Zone, Gomwa Central Special Economic Zone, to accelerate manufacturing growth. On behalf of the President and the people of Ghana, I wish to humbly thank His Royal Majesty, King of the Ashanti, for his enormous support and leadership that facilitated the acquisition of the flagship Greater Kumasi Industrial City and Special Economic Zone, which is located in Ejiso. At this stage, can we all appreciate His Royal Majesty for his immense support in creating these zones? In all of this, Your Royal Majesty, ladies and gentlemen, our greatest competitive advantage is what Ghana can produce for Africa. This is why Ghana's position as host of the AFTA Secretariat is more than symbolic. It reflects our commitment to continental economic integration, gives investors the possibility of locating production in Ghana while accessing markets across the continent. This is why investment in Ghana can be investment in Africa. Your Royal Majesty, ladies and gentlemen, Africa's future will not be given to us. It will be built by Africans and by partners who believe that Africa's prosperity is inseparable from global prosperity. Africa is now lighting the way through renewable energy.
Osman Titien. Robia Santinadwe Kasangen. Robia Santinadwe Kasangen. Osechi chwe mi modi nwa risio. Osechi chwe mi modi nwa risio. Wine ne benya sajuso supanini ekwaba kuma sika poba no. Wine ne benya sajuso supanini ekwaba kuma sika poba.
The vision for African economic relations in the future. Looking at the video of Lagos, and when I was there in 2006, and looking at the transformation now, it makes me feel that it's possible for us to be able to do it. I consider it a privilege to address you at this important gathering in Washington, D.C., and I bring you greetings from Ghana, and then from a continent that stands today at one of the most important turning points in its modern history. We meet at a time when new technologies, changing supply chains, shifting centers of production, new energy systems, and the rapid emergence of young consumer markets are reshaping the global economy. At such a moment, every serious investor is asking where the next generation of growth will come from. Every government is asking where future industries will be located. Every financial institution is asking where capital can be deployed for long-term value. My message to this gathering is that Africa must no longer be regarded merely as a continent of future potential. Africa is already becoming a central part of the future global economy. And those who understand this early will position themselves advantageously. For too long, Africa has been described mainly in terms of its deficits. We have heard of the roads not built, the electricity not generated, the jobs not created, the capital not available, and the institutions not strong enough. These concerns are real, and responsible leadership must address them. Yet, it is equally necessary to ask what Africa possesses. Africa possesses a young population, immense natural resources, expanding cities, growing markets, fertile lands, strategic minerals, entrepreneurial talent, cultural influence, technological creativity, and a determination among its people to claim a different economic future. The great error would be to continue looking at Africa only through yesterday's problems while ignoring tomorrow's opportunities. History often rewards those who can recognize transformation before it becomes obvious to everyone else. Those who understand the rise of Asia decades ago positioned themselves early. Those who saw the digital revolution before it became universal created industries that now shape the world. Africa must now be studied with the same seriousness, not as an object of charity or sympathy, but as a continent in which significant economic value will be created over the coming decades. The African economic renaissance I speak of must, however, be different from the economic structures inherited from the past. It cannot be based simply on extracting raw materials and sending them abroad. Africa has contributed enormously to global prosperity through its resources. Yet, the continent has too often received only a fraction of the value generated from what it produces. This must change. We have cocoa, yet much of the wealth in chocolate is created elsewhere. We have gold and other valuable minerals, yet refining, processing, and advanced manufacturing often take place beyond our shores. We have bauxite, manganese, lithium, cobalt, and other minerals that are increasingly important to modern technology. Yet, our participation in the value chain is often concentrated at the earliest and least profitable stages. We have agricultural land, yet we import food that could be produced locally. We process natural wealth, yet too many communities near that wealth remain poor. The new Africa must therefore be built on value addition. Our ambition must not simply be to export more. To the investors gathered here, I say that Africa needs your capital, technology, expertise, and access to international markets. But Africa also seeks partnerships that help create enduring productive capacity. When you invest in mining, help us develop our refinery and processing capabilities. When you invest in agriculture, help us to build storage, packaging, and food processing industries. When you invest in energy, help us strengthen local engineering and technical skills. When you establish technology companies, train African programmers and develop African managers. When you invest in health, help us build pharmaceutical manufacturing, diagnostics, and research capacity. Investment should leave footprints that go beyond financial statements. It should build people, strengthen institutions, transfer knowledge, and create industries that remain long after the original investment has matured. The best investment is one in which the investor prospers and the host society becomes more capable. Africa must also overcome one of its greatest historical limitations: economic fragmentation. We have too often operated as small national markets separated by borders that increase cost and restrict commerce. Yet the future of African prosperity depends on our ability to see the continent as an interconnected economic space. Yesterday, when we were having discussions with Nana Uchosribo and Nana Pinton about why Africa cannot have a position at the Security Council, it's just because Africa has not been able to position themselves to unite, to nominate one or two companies to do that. And this is one of our predicaments. The African Continental Free Trade Area presents one of the most significant opportunities available to us. Its promise is not simply to increase trade between African countries, but to change how investors calculate the scale of African opportunities. An investment in Ghana should increasingly be understood not simply as one serving Ghana's population, but as one positioned within a wider West African and continental market. The same principle should apply in Kenya, Rwanda, Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire, Senegal, Morocco, South Africa, and across the continent. An integrated Africa will offer businesses scale. It will enable manufacturers to serve larger markets, encourage cross-border supply chains, improve industrial specialization, and make infrastructure investments more commercially viable. It will also encourage African companies themselves to become continental enterprises rather than remaining permanently confined within their national borders in Nigeria or Ghana. Ghana is honored to host the Secretariat of African Continental Free Trade in Accra, and I believe this carries a special responsibility. Ghana must not merely host the institution, we must embody the spirit of integration by creating an investment environment that welcomes enterprise, encourages production, and strengthens trade with the rest of Africa. The continent's greatest resource, however, is not found beneath the soil, it is found in its people. Africa's young population represents both our greatest opportunity and our greatest responsibility. Millions of young Africans are entering adulthood with ambitions, education, digital awareness, and expectations far higher than those of previous generations. They want to work, to innovate, to establish businesses, to participate in global industries, and to build meaningful lives within their own countries. If we fail to create opportunities for them, we will create frustration. If we succeed, we would unleash one of the world's greatest productive forces. The difference between these two outcomes will depend largely on investment, education, governance, and the ability of our economies to create jobs at scale. A young person with knowledge but no opportunity eventually becomes discouraged. An entrepreneur with a viable idea but no access to capital may never employ anyone. A trained scientist without a laboratory may take their knowledge elsewhere. A farmer without access to technology remains trapped in low productivity. An engineer without industry may become unemployed or underemployed. These are not merely individual disappointments. The mind should help create technical expertise. The technology companies should help create African innovators. The agricultural enterprise should help transform the farmer into a modern business person. The university should be connected to industry, and research should be connected to development. Education itself must therefore become central to our investment agenda. Africa cannot achieve an economic renaissance with educational systems disconnected from the needs of modern economies. We must expand technical and vocational education, strengthen science and engineering, invest in universities, improve research, and encourage collaboration between education and industry. A continent that wishes to manufacture must train engineers. A continent that wishes to develop biotechnology must train scientists. A continent that wishes to enter the digital economy must train programs and data specialists. A continent that wishes to improve agriculture must train agricultural scientists and modern farmers. A continent that wishes to manage its own wealth must train economists, managers, accountants, and financial experts at the highest quality. Agriculture remains another major pillar of Africa's transformation. There's something fundamentally unacceptable about a continent with enormous agricultural potential importing substantial quantities of food while millions of its citizens face food insecurity. This contradiction must be overcome. The future of African agriculture is not subsistence farming. It is productivity, technology, processing, finance, and access to markets. We need irrigation systems that reduce dependence on rainfall, mechanization that improves efficiency, storage systems that reduce post-harvest losses, improve seeds, agricultural research, crop insurance, cold chain infrastructure, and modern logistics. We must also change how young Africans perceive agriculture. Farming must not be associated only with poverty and hardship. It must be possible for a young graduate to enter agriculture because it is profitable, technologically advanced, and capable of building wealth. When agriculture becomes a serious business, it will attract talent, capital, and innovation. Energy is equally indispensable. No country has industrialized without reliable power, and Africa cannot be the exception. Factories, hospitals, schools, digital systems, and modern agriculture increasingly require electricity. Africa's energy needs, therefore, represent both a challenge and a major investment opportunity, and our continent has significant solar, hydro, wind gas, and other energy resources. What is needed is capital, technology, infrastructure, and effective policy to convert these resources into reliable power for households and industry. When power reaches a community, the effects are immediate and profound. Children can study for longer hours, businesses can operate more efficiently, cleaners can use modern equipment, farmers can store produce, small manufacturers can expand production, and digital connectivity becomes possible. Energy is therefore not simply a sector of the economy, it is an enabler of every other sector. The digital economy represents another opportunity Africa must seize. The continent has already demonstrated its ability to innovate in areas such as mobile finance, digital payments, and technology-driven services. But we should not stop there. African companies and entrepreneurs must participate in artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, cloud computing, digital health, e-commerce, logistics, education technology, agricultural technology, and software development. The digital revolution is particularly important because it allows Africa to overcome some traditional barriers to development. A young entrepreneur does not always need a large industrial complex to reach international markets. With connectivity, skills, capital, and a good idea, a business can emerge from Kumasi or Kigali and reach customers around the world. Investors should therefore pay close attention to Africa's technology ecosystems. Many of the companies that will shape Africa's future may still be small today. Some may be operating from modest offices. Some may not yet be known outside their cities. Yet history teaches us that large companies often begin as small ideas that found support at the right moment. Health must also become part of the continental investment conversation. Africa's experience during the COVID-19 pandemic demonstrated the dangers of excessive dependence on external sources for medicines, vaccines, diagnostics, and essential equipment. The lesson is clear. Africa must build stronger health industries of its own. This creates significant opportunities in pharmaceutical manufacturing, medical devices, diagnostics, hospital development, health insurance, digital health, biotechnology, and research. These are sectors where investment can generate returns while also strengthening national resilience and improving the lives of millions. The economic case for health investment is straightforward. A healthy population is more productive. Children learn better when they are healthy. Workers perform better when they are healthy. And families are more economically secure when illness does not push them into poverty. Health systems should therefore be seen as essential infrastructure for development. Yet while we ask investors to look seriously at Africa, we must also address the responsibility of African leadership. We cannot invite investment and then make business unnecessarily difficult. We cannot ask capital to come while tolerating corruption, unpredictable policies, weak contract enforcement, and excessive bureaucracy. Investors require certainty. They must know that lawful contracts will be respected, regulations will be clear, disputes can be resolved fairly, and governments will honor legitimate obligations. They must know that a successful business will not suddenly be punished simply because of political change. They must know that they must know that competence matters more than connections. African governments must therefore understand that good governance is in itself an economic asset. Stability is an investment incentive. The rule of law is an incentive for investment. Predictability is an investment incentive. Efficient public institutions are investment incentives. Transparent taxation is an investment incentive. These are as important as natural resources. Corruption, by contrast, is not merely a moral problem, it's an economic obstacle. It raises costs, discourages investments, weakens public institutions towards rewards inefficiency, and ultimately transfer the burden to the ordinary citizen. Africa cannot build world-class economies while tolerating practices that make serious enterprise unnecessarily difficult. At the same time, investors must also recognize their responsibilities. Africa does not seek another era in which wealth leaves the continent while host communities remain poor. Responsible investment must respect the environment, workers, local communities, national laws, and cultural values. The best companies would understand that local development is not an obstacle to profitability. It is part of long-term business stability. Companies that train local workers, support local suppliers, communicate with communities, and respect national laws create stronger foundations for their own success. For this reason, traditional leadership plays an important role in Africa's development. I speak as the occupant of an institution that has existed for centuries, and I believe traditional authority remains relevant precisely because development occurs within the communities they live. Investors may see land on a map. Communities see inheritance, livelihood, history, and identity. Government may see an industrial project. Local people may see opportunities, anxieties, and questions about their future. Traditional institutions can help create understanding between these different perspectives. In Asante, our institutions have survived because they have adapted without losing their foundations. Tradition and modern developments are not opposites. People can preserve its identity and still welcome technology, modern infrastructure, and international investment. Economic progress does not require cultural amnesia. Indeed, Africa's ability to modernize without losing itself may become one of its greatest strengths. People who know who they are can engage the world with confidence. Cultural confidence should therefore not be confused with resistance to change. Permit me in this regard to speak about Ghana and particularly Kumasi. Ghana has long been regarded as one of Africa's stable democracies and an important gateway to West Africa. Our country offers opportunities in agriculture, mining, manufacturing, energy, tourism, technology, and education and health. And in fact, Nigeria has followed suit because they are brothers. So as we pursue democracy, they follow us, and then we do that. Within Ghana, Kumasi has a special place. It has long been a center of commerce, enterprise, and culture. It is surrounded by productive agricultural communities, connected to important mining and commercial areas, and supported by universities and educational institutions that provide human capital. But by saying that, I also talk about my region, Western region also. So that's where I was tutored and brought. And so if I'm inviting investors, they have to look at Western region also for me. I invite investors gather here to look closely at Kumasi and the Ashanti region and the Western region. There's room for advanced manufacturing, agro-processing, health investment, technology, tourism, transport, education, and real estate development. There's room for partnerships with local businesses and opportunities to serve markets far beyond the regions itself. I also wish to address the Africans in the diaspora. Your relationship with Africa must move beyond memory and emotion, as I said last Tuesday, into investment and enterprise. The diaspora possesses experience, knowledge, professional networks, and capital that can play an important role in Africa's transformation. Return does not always mean physically relocating. It can mean investing in an African company, mentoring an entrepreneur, funding research, supporting a university, establishing a hospital, financing agriculture, or creating a technology partnership. It can mean connecting African businesses to international markets and helping African talent gain access to global networks. The relationship between Africa and the wider world must also move gradually beyond the traditional framework of aid. Aid has played an important role in saving lives in many circumstances, but no continent can build lasting prosperity primarily through aid. The language of Africa's future must increasingly become the language of trade, investment, technology, enterprise, and partnership. Instead of asking only what the world can give Africa, we must ask what Africa and the world can create together. This change in outlook is essential. Africa does not seek partnership simply because it has needs. Africa seeks partnership because it has value. It has markets, resources, people, creativity, geography, and opportunity. The relationship must therefore be founded on mutual interest and mutual respect. We must also remember that economic growth is meaningful only when it improves human lives. A country may record impressive growth statistics and still fail its people if that growth does not create jobs, improve education, expand healthcare, and reduce insecurity. The true measure of an economic renaissance is therefore not only the number of factories we build or the volume of trade we record. It is whether young people can find work, farmers can earn decent incomes, families can obtain healthcare, children can receive quality education, and citizens can live with dignity. Prosperity that does not reach ordinary people eventually becomes unstable. Development must therefore be broad enough to create hope, not merely wealth. The Africa I envision is one in which natural resources are transformed into industries, agricultural products are converted into global brands, young people are creators rather than merely job seekers, and African companies compete confidently in international markets. I envision a continent where modern trains and roads connect cities and markets, where electricity is reliable, where universities produce world-class research, where African pharmaceuticals supply African hospitals, and where technology companies born in Africa serve customers throughout the world. I envision an Africa in which investors see opportunity rather than fear, and in which Africans themselves approach their future with confidence rather than resignation. To the international business community, my appeal is therefore simple. Look at Africa again and look carefully. Do not rely only on inherited perceptions. Study the individual markets. Study the reforms. Study the entrepreneurs. Study the young populations. Study the emerging industries. And study the opportunities created by integration. Those who arrive only when every uncertainty has disappeared may discover that the greatest opportunities have already been taken by those who understood earlier. To African leaders, I say we must create the conditions that justify investor confidence. To African businesses, I say that we must think beyond national borders. To the diaspora, I say that Africa needs your capital and expertise. To international investors, I say that Africa is ready for serious partnership. Among the Asante, leadership is understood as stewardship. The king does not own the kingdom in the ordinary sense. He holds it in trust for those alive today and for generations yet unborn. This understanding carries an important lesson for everyone who holds power, wealth, or responsibility. But political leaders are trustees of nations. Business leaders are trustees of institutions. Investors are trustees of capital. Traditional leaders are trustees of culture and community. Each generation inherits opportunities created by those before it and carries a duty to improve them for those who will follow. 100 years from today, another generation would examine the choices we make now. They will ask whether we use Africa's resources wisely, whether we educated our young people, whether we built institutions, whether we created industries, and whether we converted potential into prosperity. They may ask whether global investors saw Africa merely as a source of commodities, or whether they help build enduring businesses and institutions. They may ask whether African governments dare to reform systems that discourage enterprise. They may ask whether we understood the importance of integration, technology, and human culture. It is within our power to ensure that history gives a favorable answer. The African economic renaissance will not happen because we speak about it. It will happen because governments reform, investors commit capital, entrepreneurs innovate, communities participate, young people acquire skills, and institutions earn trust. Africa does not ask the world to carry it. Africa asks the world to partner with it. That partnership must be confident, fair, practical, and ambitious. It must move beyond extraction towards production, beyond transactions towards relationship, and beyond short-term gain towards the long-term value. To every serious investor listening to me today, I extend an invitation to enter Africa with imagination and patience. Come to build companies that will still matter decades from now. Come to form partnerships with African entrepreneurs. Come to develop industries, technologies, and skills that strengthen both your business and the communities in which you operate. The opportunities are significant. The work is enormous, and the rewards can be transformative. If we act wisely, this generation can help create an Africa that is more productive, more prosperous, more confident, and more respected within the global economy. That is the Africa I believe is possible. It is an Africa that honors its history while building its future, welcomes investment while protecting its dignity, and engages the world not from weakness but from confidence. May this summit therefore become more than another gathering of speeches and promises. May it produce partnerships, investments, factories, technologies, jobs, businesses, and institutions that future generations can point to as evidence that we understood the opportunity before us. May God bless Africa, may God bless the United States of America, and may He bless all those who seek to build a relationship between Africa and the world founded upon enterprise, mutual respect, shared prosperity, and peace. I thank you all.
With the voice and wisdom of his ancestors, his is certainly the tide that lifts all boats. The King of Asante, His Majesty Otumfuo Osei Tutu II. Please be seated. Many thanks to you, Your Majesty, for those words of gold. You show us that a king's authority, used rightly, can move capital as surely as it can move culture. We thank you for those warm thoughts that you shared with us. We're cognizant of your very busy schedule and are very appreciative of the time you've spent here with us. Your Majesty, we promise that we shall deliberate and revert with very tangible and fruitful outcomes on this theme that you have chosen for us. Before you take leave of us, however, we have a little request that you honor one distinguished son of Africa who embodies our theme. Ajman Prempe to please proceed to the front to do this honor. From the foundations of the KGL Group, he has raised an indigenous enterprise that now moves fluently across technology, gaming, digital innovation, finance, healthcare, sports, and social impact, not as scattered ventures, but as single deliberate architecture. Proof that African capital, African ingenuity, and African ambition can build institutions of global consequence. That is the mandate of this summit, and that's what it calls on us to fulfill. And so for his uncommon success in enterprise, for his unwavering advocacy for African economic self-determination, and for demonstrating through the enduring institution he has built that Ghana and Africa can compete anywhere in the world and win, the Millennium Excellence Foundation, on the authority of its life patron, Otumfuo Osei Tutu II, the Asantehene, is honored to confer on Mr. Alex Apau Dade the award for International Best Business. Congratulations, Mr. Alex Apau Dade, Executive Group Chairman of the KGL Group. You stand out today as the recipient of the International Best Business. Ladies and gentlemen, please, a round of applause. Nana Jiman Prempe, you need to do the honor, please.
He doesn't know it yet.
Ah, as a true son of the soil.
Like any other day, it begins with hope.
Congratulations. Your Majesty, if it pleases you, I'd like you to have 3 photo opportunities with the few herein gathered. The first will be with all the members on the front row. Respectfully, I ask that you please join His Majesty. The second will be with all our governors. All our governors. Members of the governing board of the Millennium Excellence Foundation. Yours is the next. All our governors, please. Let's make it snappy. The last will be with representatives of all our sponsors. Members of the governing board, please. Finally, all our sponsors, GIPA, 24-Hour Economy, Accelerated Export Development, African Business, African Banker, New African, ACP Holdings, Adnate Capital Group, Twin Cap Consulting, Star Oil, Boston Energies, Golden Cements Ghana Limited, Ghana Link, Margins Group, NHIS Just More, and KGL. And on those notes, the King leaves us with a charge to unlock Africa's century, the mandate of the diaspora. All rise as the King takes leave of us. And we continue with the rest of the programming after the King departs. I ask that we please hold ourselves in readiness. Please remain standing. Podium back on stage. And so what is reserved for us now is a gem of conversations. I ask that we all remain seated as we continue with the rest of the programming. Please remain seated as we continue with the rest of the programming. Thank you very much. Coming up is a showcase of excellence in the beautiful state of Lagos. We're joined by, you see?
Borada. I am not saying it way. Yes, I will. Hey, what's the one I was in the record? I know. Yes, I will go. What's the record? I know. Yes, I will go. I am 2 million. Yes, I will. Yeah, was so very aboard. That was the breakfast. My protein. Yes, I will go for Nana. Bonia, I can't have you. Ashanti yeah, guide me, Bonia, Nana. Then you are na Missy. There be a back I would. Guide me, Bonia. Nana, we have Papa no way. There be a back I would. Cata Wabua. It's a Rusu Waborada. I am not saying it way. Yes, I will. Hey, what's the one I was in the
Yedi Asantehene mon kame ho na ye madomafo nyina ya akọ ene hyeden. Ye madomafo mu nyina mo ya akọ ene hyeden. Fi say am imagine who say from Sunday going how mu be see man media no so aye hye no. Isumamo
not make you want to have the time to say any wala why being cash review first no me now na me so because on pass Asantehene asema be wona ha me we wona me say ampo Asantehene on pa masema na me say na say afen ma mati ase because Asantehene omonye because consider we mkokodi o ma shada we e plant no omonye omo peso mungodi consider we o ma ba betra o ma my pressure na Asantehene my majusi omo de be my yi nti Asantehene nyewa me no ya adwe wo mpa ma asema mati ase na we ya wo mpa ma asemi omo I say envo mu o mese kumu ni pressure me do ala wo de anti pa ma asempre pa ma sangrofo no we hey misraw hey one ba masema amuchese amude anfo one ba masemo ase usu na mi yo usu za munjum no ode woni Asantehene njum usu na mi yo usu na mi ya wo na sanjum no ya Asantehene njum me first me pacho. Umpa sama mo de hamo. Now pressure ni omu kwakwe. Mama shada me ni Asantefo. Akwasi day last year my planning no USD my last year my planning no sana what now my son the way I'm go there me dollar Sunday no the best hard because omunyi no obi a be shekente obi a we shekente anje ndi me de hello Inti wo mo de wampo wo tam kwaba na mani je ho Asantefo wo tam no ya be jojo wateti wakasa mesra menya ho ntai mo wai menya ho me be tufu me du na me tufu hello we ma me tufu ho de mo de tam so wo wanya ho we o mo be jojo Asantefo you better make you useless. You better. Time we're gonna have Asantefo. People who can make you. People who can make you and not make you. You want to have the time to say wala why being cash review.
You see the man out there, that's my kin. Me heneno ono na ekono. That is my king right there, and that is king of Ghana. That is the king of Ashanti Empire. That is the kings of king. Just brofono ma intima ma kambesa me kafone but ma minkatwi. Chamai efrisi e wo me efiti 1660 ebepem 2026 memfa meni se hunu bibi say that. Masa otumfo ena obroni ede wow edi nanim na akoya kwesi dewa America no chese woye that is king of Ghana right there. That is king of Ghana. That is king of Ashanti Empire. Oh hinikesi en wonye papa na akwara ba no obu ni mu president ba obebu ni mu why Donald Trump crowd mu ade akra no oduro na so ochia na wo so ye yamamre no obebu ni mu Donald Trump ama no wow edinanim masa ne yakoso no hunu ye wo hu de yakoso no hunu ye wo de ochina me hunu so obia ya boske bi na ma kan so obaba be kire se ono ne ohene no be hwe no koto wa kopa bi atena nana na ekono nana ne ye chia no nana na etutu tatai no nana na ekono nana na ye chia no nana na etutu tatai no nana
ya wonye hi sasa nkrofo ye titi moto isui wo hwe wo mo nsa ho pa o tu so mo ya abrofo mi sheze da zoomi na me ka sa Ghana police na ya resi ya resources edi o mo di otumfo achi kwa abroche so mo nkodi nachi afa me fe mani hwe eyi ba ko nsa ho tete ho me fe mani hwe ya se broni fita na che sa America for police abrofo sum otumfo abrofo ena esum no na mose mo nkasa de musiye no ejere muboa mumunim mesese mo ameka me medi mo achi abewia obia wonye hi sasa